All right, guys. So we go over 11.1, 11.2 main ideas here. So we talked about 11.1 a little bit on Wednesday. Then you've read 11.2, and we'll go into a little bit of it. It talks about Florida and Texas becoming part of the United States. So back to 11.1, that was about the Oregon country. Rivalry in the Northwest. So Northwest, we know that's where the Oregon country was. Where Oregon is now, extending up to what we now have as Canada. So in the early 1800s, three nations claimed the Oregon country: United States, Great Britain, and Spain. We've talked about those yesterday or on Wednesday. So those are the three main ones. So like we said, three countries all claiming the same spot. Probably not going to go real great, right? So that's why we talked about the Adams-Onis Treaty and then joint occupation. So many Americans wanted control of Oregon to gain access to the Pacific Ocean. Like I said, Pacific Ocean is a big deal. Lots of resources that could be had out there, and being another port city for the United States out there. Then they had guides, also known as mountain men. They carved out the Oregon Trail and other east-west passages through the Oregon country. So this is talking about the first people to kind of get to the Oregon country. Mountain men, they were the fur trappers. They did lots of other things, but fur trapping being one of the bigger things. Now, this is a beaver fur hat. Okay, remember we talked about those until there was the issue of over-trapping, which caused a lot of problems. And then the fashion at the time started moving more towards silk, so not as many people wanted beaver fur. Okay, so in the 1830s, American pioneers began traveling to the Oregon country to settle. Oregon country, how'd they get there? The Oregon Trail. Many thought it was the nation's manifest destiny to extend its boundaries all the way to the Pacific Ocean. Manifest destiny, remember what that is? That is the American people's belief that God was on their side to move to the Pacific Ocean and that it was their destiny to do so. In 1846, the United States and Great Britain agreed to set the U.S. border at 49 degrees north latitude. Okay, so we talked about that, the 4940. 4940 or fight saying that they had as well. So with that, I'm going to show you guys this Oregon Trail picture here, map. So you can see kind of where it went. Independence, Missouri, right? We talked about that a little bit. St. Louis is more on this side, okay? Runs along the Mississippi. So Independence is where they mainly started in Missouri, and they would work their way this way. Okay, there's all kinds of forts and different places to stop. Obviously, here's the Rocky Mountains. They would go through the South Pass right here. This is where they would cross the mountains because there's a lower spot that they could get through. But I just want you guys to see that on the map. And you see over here, so I can zoom in. As far as it's going to let me zoom in. But over here, they may not have got all the way to the ocean, okay? But obviously, this is the part that comes in from the ocean, okay? And then here is the boundary. Oregon country was all the way up here, okay? This was the Oregon country, all the way up into here. But then they set this boundary right here, that where Canada is. So you see a little bit of the Oregon country used to be up here. Now this is Washington area right here. This is like the state of Washington. And then this would be Oregon, and then California down here. Okay, but at the moment, this is all Mexico. Okay. So back over here, and then let's go into 11.2. And here's another picture of the map. Here's it with the forts, though, that were on it. Courthouse Rock, Chimney Rock, Fort Laramie, Independence Rock, Fort Badger, Soda Springs, Fort Hall, Fort Boise, the Dalles, the Whitman Mission. Remember Marcus and Narcissa Whitman that you read about? Okay, so this kind of gives you the map with today's states on them. Okay, And if you play the game, Oregon Trail game, you'll see these are stops you can make on the way, these forts. So on 11.2, this is talking about Florida and Texas. So as news of Florida's fertile land spread, thousands of new settlers streamed into the territory. So now we've got people not only going to, because remember, Florida was controlled by the Seminoles. Then with Indian removal, they moved all of the Native Americans out into the Oklahoma Territory. So now that's got new land that hasn't been settled by Americans. So Florida seemed like a good place to go for some people. So lots of people were going there, and lots of people went to Oregon country, just kind of depending on what their preference was. In 1837, enslaved people made up about half of Florida's population. So slavery was legal in Florida at the time. Okay, and Florida entered the Union as a slave state in 1845. So entered the Union. The Union is the United States. Okay, so if you ever hear anybody say the Union, they're talking about the United States in regards to this. And so in 1845, that is when Florida officially became a state. So then Texas. So Texas was also part of Mexico at the time. And they wanted to separate. So then they go to war with Mexico. The Mexican Cession happens. The defenders of the Alamo provided Texans a rallying cry. Remember the Alamo. Because remember, Texans got beat at the Alamo. They lost a lot of people. Okay. So in 1836, Texas won its independence from Mexico as the Lone Star Republic. So that, becoming their own republic, they're independent from Mexico. They were not a part of the United States. They were their own republic. Then 9 years later, in 1845, Texas joined the Union as a slave state as well. So they were another slave state that joined the United States. Okay. And then let's look at this map. Texas's war for independence. This shows you the boundaries. Okay, so this is why they went to war over this area here that has lines on it. Okay, so Texas said the Rio Grande, this river right here, was the boundary to Mexico. Mexico claimed that this line right here was the boundary. It looks like they just kind of made one up because there's no natural line there. I guess there may be some hills or something there, but not really. This is really a kind of a valley. All right. So they went to war over this area right here. And you'll see the red is the Mexican armies. That's the Alamo here. That was a Mexican victory. The blue would be the American victories. Okay. So now they all end up going to war, and the Texans end up winning. And that's why this boundary is now, as we know it today, where Texas is. Okay, the Rio Grande is the border between Texas and Mexico. All right. And then I believe there's one more. Yeah, and just go check out the maps on Google Classroom. It's basically those two maps right there, but there's a video. You can listen to them, and they tell you kind of the order it happened and gives you a visual of the route to Oregon and a visual of those armies moving into Texas and moving into Mexico during the Mexican-American War.